Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, with the grace, mercy, love and permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can continue our da'wah from Positive Islamic Psychology Center and Khalifa Education Foundation. For us to bring about a transformation of the Ummah, we have many YouTube channel, especially we have the new channel like Islam Itu Benar and Ilmu Tauhid Kalam Cosmology. We are talking about the cosmological argument, Kalam Cosmological Argument, and then we have our standard PIP, Islamic Psychology PIP, and we have more than 600 videos through all our YouTube channel as a da'wah platform for you to learn and become a certified life coach. So we have many modules on Islamic motivation, coaching, mentoring, counseling and Islam Heart of Love. And we want to bring about a transformation of the Ummah where the self, the family, society, globally, Islam can be the de facto way of life. Inshallah, through our da'wah, we bring about the sense of love, peace, mercy, compassion, intrinsic in Islam. And this is the way forward for we Muslims to live in peace with all human beings, all humanity, all the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a justly balanced ecological world that will allow us to have a good life on this earth and a good life in the hereafter. So I have given to you the understanding of what is the basis of Iman, because as I'm going to give you some idea of how we understand Ilmu Tawheed and also Ilmu Tawheed with the perspective of Kalam Cosmology in the Ash'ari Maturidi tradition. So we have the general belief, Imamul Mujmal and Imamul Mufassal, and then we have given you an understanding of the nature of the attributes of Allah. What are His essential attributes, what are His absurd attributes, and what are His possible attributes. And I have given to you how this whole framework of the understanding of Ilmu Tawheed and Ilmu Sharia came about within the history of the context of Islamic civilization. How this is brought about from the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Jibreel, to our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallam, to the Sahabas, Tabi'in and so on, and how this whole system of knowledge and system of belief that is Ilmu Tawheed, that is called Ahkamul Asliyah or fundamental principles in terms of Ilmu Tawheed, Ilmu Kalam, Ilmu Usuluddin and so on, and how the Ilmu Sharia into Ilmu Al-Ahkam or the science of Islamic law, and how we derive this whole knowledge, body of knowledge that becomes the tenets of Islam. Okay, so this is very important as a basis, because as we go into understanding the attributive aspect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from Ilmu Tawheed, then we will get into more detail. So with this fundamental idea, then you know the train of logical conclusion within the perspective of Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So if we talk about the 20 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which was a compilation of aspects during the development of the time of Imam Ash'ari and Imam al-Maturidi, where they have to confront the Greek logician, the atheists of those days, the Zoroasters of those days, the Magians, and so there are many group of people. So from then they have been able to impactfully defend the stand of the Kalam or cosmological argument within the framework of these 20 attributes. So it's not that mean that Allah has these 20 attributes. No, Allah has all the perfect attributes possible, all perfect attributes to Him, and all the possible attributes to Him. The number of attributes we do not know. Alright, Allah is free from all the absurd attributes. The opposite is the absurd. So once we know that, that will be the fundamental idea of Ilmu Tawheed and the fundamental idea of Kalam cosmological argument. So we have first to defend the first most important sifah salbiyah, sifah nafsiyah, that is the essential attributes personal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so the first and most important essential attribute is Wujud. Allah is existence. So when we talk about Allah is existent, then we can talk about all the other attributive aspects of Allah. That means if we can prove the existence of Allah, the existence of Allah or the Wujud of Allah is the existence par excellence. Everyone must believe in that that there's no doubt in His existence. So in the Quran, Allah says there's no doubt about the existence of Allah in Surah Ibrahim. So the Quran tells us there should be no doubt about the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Creator. Alright? So now we have to prove it using our logical, rational thinking within the framework of Kalam. That means the logical framework that was developed during Socratic, Plato, Aristotelian. But even before that, within the framework of Indian, Chinese, and even Mesopotamian, they have some form of logical systems. Alright? But we're using the Greek codified system, and that was the basis of how the Muslims, especially Imam Ghazali, was able to overcome the challenges of the 80s, the so-called philosophers of those times. So first we must understand about Wujud, and I'm going to dwell on why the existence of Allah, the Wujud of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is absolute truth. And that defense must come about from the various angles of traditional cosmological argument, as well as from the perspective of science and philosophy, sociology, and so on. So what are the other attributive aspects of Allah? The 20 attributes we just go through. That means once we know that Allah is existent, then we have what we call the salbiyah, sifat salbiyah. That means the opposite of it is not possible for Him. For example, if we say Allah al-Qidam, He is eternal, eternity. So there is no way that there is a creator or the absolute creator as non-eternal. That means if He's not eternal, He is a created being also. Alright? So this is the sifat salbiyah, al-Qidam, al-Baqa, everlastingness. Mukhalaftuhu lil hawadith, dissimilarity to accidents or dissimilarity to His creatures. Al-Qiyamuhu bi nafsi, self-dependence. He is not dependent on us or any of His creatures. Al-Wahdaniyah, He is a unity. Alright? And Al-Hayya, He is life. Al-Qudrah, He is power. Al-Iradah, He is the intention. Al-Ilmu, He is the knowledge. As-Sami'un, He is the audition. He is the sight. Alright? And Al-Mutakallim, the speech. Once we have defined the attributive aspect of these attributes, we must have the possessor of the attributes. So this is sifat ma'nawiyah. So for example, we have kaunuhu hayyun, the living, kaunuhu kadirun, the powerful, kaunuhu muridun, the intending, kaunuhu alimun, the knowing, kaunuhu sami'un, the hearing, kaunuhu basirun, the seeing, kaunuhu mutakallimun, the speaking. So these are the 22 attributive aspects in the defense of the existence of Allah, Wujud of Allah, and in the defense of all the attributive aspects that we should be able to understand. Alright? So that will be the framework of the Ash'ari al-Mutridi Kalam cosmological argument, and the best of those arguments, as I say, was during the time of Hujatul Islam, Imam Ghazali. So how do we then defend this idea of the Wujud of Allah? So we must have logic. So Kalam means logic, logically reasoning with subject and predicate and with premises. So we have to have a claim, and then what are the premises to prove the logical conclusion of what we state. So this was a discussion of the philosophers during Aristotle and beyond. So during the time of Hujatul Islam, Imam Ghazali, this was even more intense. That's why he has to write a book in disputing the idea of the philosophers. So using philosophy and using the science of Kalam argument. So what is our claim? This is from our book, my teacher's book, No Islam, and he has written a very deep book on Kalam, that is the tenets of Islam. Alright, so this book is based on Imam Al-Lakani, Jawharatul Islam, Jawharatul Tawheed, and his commentary is very deep. So I'm not able to reach the level of my teacher in terms of Kalam cosmological argument, but at least I'm trying to bring new ideas into it, as well as from our great professor Said Nagib Al-Attas, prolegomena of the metaphysics of Islam. So if you have time, you go through all these three areas of understanding, then inshallah you can be a master of Kalam cosmological argument, inshallah. But let us begin with the understanding of Wujud. Our claim is that Allah is the essential being. That means His existence is intellectually essential. That means essential means it is not a created thing, all right? So Allah is the essential. The essential being is a being that has no beginning, there's no end, that is there, all right? So He is the essential being, all right? Contingent being is something that is created. Accident is something created. So you can call contingent being or accident being as the same terminology used in Kalam cosmological argument. So if we say Allah is existent, Wujud, then what are our proof? The first proof is because Allah is the one whom the universe essentially needs. This is a minor proof. That means this universe needs a creator. So simply said, Allah is the one whom the universe essentially needs to bring this universe into existence. But the premise is just this only, because Allah is the one whom the universe essentially needs. All right, this is premise number one. Number two, and all those whom the universe essentially needs are essential beings. That means if the universe needs its existence on something else, that something else is the creator or the essential being. That means then we'll go into the next detail of how this Kalam cosmological unfold in terms of later explanation. Therefore, Allah is the essential being. This is the tree. This is categorical syllogism, first figure mode 3. This is where when you learn Ilmu Kalam, you have to learn logic, the science of logic. Categorical syllogism is a form of logic. You got to study philosophy, this is the first thing that you got to learn, all right? So I'm not an expert in that, but at least this is where, how during the good days of Imam Ghazali, this dispute is taking place and so on, they use this very deep thinking of logic. Subhanallah. And what is the modern man? We just use cursing and swearing without any understanding. So you see that the adab of knowledge, even in those days, was so much higher. The himmah was so much higher. So what is important is for us to know that this claim, and then we have to prove one by one. Premise number one, because Allah is the one whom the universe essentially needs. Number two, and then number three. But let's begin to take the simplified version. This is where Imam Ghazali, this is Al-Ghazali cosmological Kalam logic. So he defined Wujud exactly the same as before, but he simplified it. So his simplification is very simple. If the universe began to exist, then the universe has a cause. That means if the universe has a beginning, then it has a cause. Logic, right? Simple, straightforward. It's not something that you cannot imagine. All right? Any child will understand. For example, if you show a child a toy, all right? Before you take out and then you show the toy exists. If the toy is not there, it doesn't exist. So, very simple. If the universe began to exist, remember this word, began to exist, then the universe has a cause. The universe began to exist, so the universe has a beginning. So this is where we talk about Big Bang, we talk about cosmological constant, we talk about fine-tuning, we talk about all that. And then, so therefore, the universe has a cause. So that the cause is the wujud of the creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is where we have to then go into the definition of the minor premise and how we can develop. So you can see the beautiful Kalam logic that is going to unfold over the many lessons that I'm going to give to you, inshallah, step by step. So remember, Al-Ghazali Kalam argument is very simple. If the universe began to exist, then the universe has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause, and that cause is what we can then later on to prove that that cause is the wujud or the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is the first basis, first principle for you to understand and master in terms of understanding the ilmu tawhid, ilmu kalam, and the logic behind the great refinement of this knowledge of the tenets of Islam that is rational, logical, and true. And when you understand that, then deep inside within your spiritual realization, you can taste the joy of Iman, Islam, and Ihsan, always knowing that we are created for a purpose and meaning to be the servant and caliph of Allah, striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, and making the world good, inshallah.